Good day, everybody. My name is Olga. We continue our events in Media Center, Ukraine. So, everybody, congratulations for joining. Today, we'll be talking about the role of local self-governments during energy crisis and the abnormally cold winter. We have with us Oleksandr Slobozhan, Executive Director of the Associations of Cities of Ukraine. So this was a very difficult winter for all Ukrainians. We have anomalous cold, blackouts, attacks of Russia, which will not leave us alone. How did the local self-governments continue and work with those challenges? How are we ready? How are we resilient? What are our most challenges currently to the local governments? Let's talk about all of that, regional-wise, Kyiv-wise. Go, please. Thank you for inviting me today to talk about this, because there's a lot of information in communications, but that do not talk about the most important, the anomalous winter. The local self-government, no matter how effective it is, cannot handle it by itself. Locals, housing associations, maintenance offices, international donors, governments, businesses, currently they must work with us as a single organism. About winter-wise, coming to you, I talked with about a dozen of mayors. We were trying for 2 weeks to change one single article of limits for gas. Just so you understand, gas limits were made for about a previous 3-year period when we had a very mild winter. Currently, local governments are lacking about 30-40% of gas limits, gas amounts. And in about February, we'll have a complete run out, possibly by the middle of February. So on 12th of January, I raised this question. I contacted the Prime Minister that we have to re-look the limits of gas immediately, because when you have no power, buildings have electricity. We decided to keep the whole house operational, but not apartments. So we have a very difficult situation, not just in apartments, when local businesses and all of those generators, EcoFlows, they will not do anything. If the local governments, the local civic sectors, because they have hospitals, schools, social centers, all of that civic organizations inside the city of Kyiv, Kharkiv, Poltava, Mirgorod, all of those limits, those are basically crippling them. Naftogaz cannot give us what we need without the legal limits. The governments said that we have enough, but physically we cannot receive it due to that single article. Of course, not any local mayor, not any local official cannot solve this question. We hoped that this issue would be solved in about 2 or 3 days, and the limits will be drastically increased for the government sphere and for the locals to be supplies. This is a law issue specifically. We have several people working on this. We, as an association of cities, made a formal request. I hope that today, tomorrow, the government will react to this, because anomalous temperatures that we did not have for the previous 3 years, they're going to finish us. Second thing, the lot has talked about redistribution of generation, but they're not viewing the civic necessities. Every single local municipality is different due to their demands. So any standardized algorithm, any equipment is not a panacea for the distribution. All of the help from international partners for generators, with government help, this is a temporary challenge. Last week, actually even this Monday, we had a frost and some fuel even froze over with such extreme temperatures. This is an issue. Third point, due to defense, no comments on that. This is working with local government. We have to finance our army of Ukraine. There's a HR issue. We lack people. In 2022, in March, when our analytical center analyzed the risks of civic municipalities, we contacted all donors as to equipment. And you probably heard about generators, energy facilities where supplied to us. It's slightly specific. We have to have people who can maintain it. For this, even in this month, we had 235 generators. This is not 210 kilowatts. This is 1.5 tons that can supply a school or a facility. 3-phase, but its maintenance needs necessary qualifications. When we see the accident, we don't think about the people who are fixing this. On some areas, we do not even have a person available for it at all in an emergency. Could be electricians, could be energy workers, could be heat and water municipality work. In 2022, we offered that those critical infrastructures members that work in servicing that field, that they should not be limited in some way. They have to be exempt from draft. They have to be working for us. Unfortunately, in the last year, 75% of those, and some civic municipalities have reached 100%. And when we see attacks in Lviv and Ternopil, like the situation in Kyiv, we told right away that we cannot be segmented territorially, because not a single municipality is protected from rockets, from drones completely. Currently, we have 200 brigades of engineers, mechanics just in Kyiv. They are mostly from western parts, from central. Last year, we had a problem with Kryvyi Rih. Half of the local municipality that feeds from the power plant was devoid of heat, and the other one that uses a different way of powering had heat. So we had a organization made to redistribute those funds, those resources, but even then we already understood that we lack personnel. So this is quite a controversial issue that is very sensitive to people, some by experts, by residents. It's probably, yes, this is psychological in the situation that we live in. This is something that locals can do themselves. Even if there's a homeowners association or there's a maintenance office that does maintenance inside departments, there's still residue liquid inside radiators, and only they can do anything to help us. So because nobody has access to the apartments themselves, we recommend that if you're going away for somewhere, if you're leaving the apartment, if you are not available for contact and you have the information of the situation, please look inside your apartment. What maintenance brigades see is that a lot of residents have left their apartments. There's no access to their apartment, and everybody suffers because of that. Because if there's a disruption on the 4th, 5th floor, every floor below them is going to be negatively affected. One more crucial issue, quite sensitive as well. From my own personal experience, a huge apartment, 19 entrances. Somebody decides to, by themselves, install some equipment that will heat their own residence. As a result, the whole building goes accidental, because when we turn up the power, there was no accounting for that extra equipment, and we had an accident. So yeah, I started with the civic responsibilities, and I went to local responsibilities, because there's citywide responsibilities, transportation, redundant fuel and heat and water lines that municipalities have to provide. But this is a local responsibility that introduced equipment makes it accidental. Regional situations. Where is the situation critical? What do they need? How can we help them? It's no secret that the situation is more critical where there are the most Russian attacks. Previously, we said it's closer to the front lines. Right now, we see by Kyiv that the front line is irrelevant. If we open any map and we compare Kyiv to any other civic municipality, we can see that Kyiv has suffered about 10 times more than any other municipality. But mostly, yes, we see it as the front line as the most dangerous, because the next question is also added. How do we maintain, how do we fix the danger in those situations? For example, in cellular networks, it's private operators, it's a business. For some reason, the government has transferred the responsibility for mobile networks, for cellular connection, onto local private businesses. So they should be working on this. In 2022, all the companies have said they are supplied. Currently, they are finding brigades themselves, installing generators by themselves just so they can be working. Notifications don't work when you do not have cellular connection. So the shelled, the attacked municipalities have it the worst. This is Chernihiv, this is Sumy, this is Kharkiv, Kryvyi Rih, Dnipro, Kyiv, where since the Soviet times, due to the amount of age and due to the amount of municipalities, the infrastructure, the networks have been not maintained well. It's not easy to reformat the system quickly, no matter what someone says, because this convectional, for example, convectional mechanism, I'm not going to go into detail with this. This is not only funds, because, for example, civic municipalities have been bled from those costs. From 2023 to 2025, they have been devoid of funds. They could not use them for developing and maintaining energetics. When I look at the budget of a big city, I propose to compartmentalize it, to separate it, segregate it, and look at the payments. For example, in Kharkiv, 50% is educational costs. And when there's a proposition to raise salaries in that sphere, but the budget is not raised, of course, that's not going to help. And this proposition to get the market away from Ukrenergo, they're after attacks. So the Russians are hurting, and you are already hurting a system that's being attacked from the other side. So probably this is not possible at all to rework the system, no matter what the cost allocated, no matter what the equipment allocated. Third type of districts, municipalities that have problems, are smaller ones. Ones that have distribution of power, not quite critically shelled, but for them it's the money issue. 203 municipalities. It's not Kyiv, definitely. In last year, they have been devoid of funds, 15.5 billion hryvnia. What is going on? Part of the people leave the municipality for obvious reasons to central or western regions. They are registered as internally displaced people. Though these years, civic governments have been motivating them economically. Our proposition in 2022 that they be registered as an economical migrant. For example, like in Ternopil, Odessa, and Lviv regions, to receive the necessary financial remuneration, we have to have enough specialists. Those three regions did not have the necessary personnel. And when people started to leave and they went to our economical registration, it did not work as well as it would have worked on the government level. It would have been integrated everywhere. It's a person registered economically, that's not asking for money from the government. They are a citizen of Ukraine. The government's role is to supply it with a job and with living residence. Those three civic municipalities have acquired enough medics that were supplied financially well. They have finally allowed themselves normal medical service. They've gotten better profits. Main engineer arrived to them from Izum. There's a lot of such examples where they gave money to receive money. Did the government support this? The government says, "Oh, you have better profits. Give them to us." Who did you get the profits from? Those people. And to redistribute those. And what did you get? Those districts that worked for economical development. This is a reverse dotation. And we fight this year by year because our central government says one thing abroad. In Brussels, in Rome, in Berlin, they say, this is what we do as reform. One of the reforms from 2022 is not taking costs away from local municipalities in war conditions. Because the municipalities work on those economic developments. People start bringing in taxes to the government, but they get their funds deducted. They do not have enough salaries for maintenance offices. They were looking for those costs because they have gotten an increase in personnel. They've gotten an increase in taxpayers. They planned those funds. They have budgets. Up until the 25th of December, they have to submit their budget. And 29th of December, the government said, nope, it's ours, and you have to pay more. Where did they get this? And we have data leading that we can see local municipalities donating less to the armed forces because that's where they get the money. To allow people salaries that make the local living possible. You understand? We cannot not pay those. Third thing, I told you about the Soviet distribution system of water and heat because Russians target the centralized facilities that have been built way back in Soviet Union. There's a third type of municipalities that in 2021 trusted the president, the government, and signed the memorandum. This was a good idea at that year because the country is not ready for economical costs onto heat and electricity. The government made a right decision to stop the tariffs, and until we reform the system, we started to reform the system. Two different responsibilities they had. No increase in prices, and they receive a compensation for this. In 2022, this memorandum was written down as a legal note. There's an article that says that every civic municipality that did not raise prices, They receive a budget compensation as well as for the destroyed infrastructure, what is usual. And the first question that we get from everybody, where did they get money for this? The most interesting question is that you do not need extra funds for this. There's a clearing instrument. Everybody who owes somebody else means that you do not owe anybody, really. There are several municipalities in Ukraine that have their funds frozen. For example, the Kyiv municipality that has been under attack, they have had their accounts frozen. No matter how much their mayor receives money, there's no way to pay anybody. There's 20 billion UA in Kharkiv. Kyiv has about 18 billion allocate debts. So previous debt has the daily interest, and their funds are frozen. Everything stops. And when we talk about the preparation for the heating work, everybody forgets about lawyers. Those who were working day and night to stop their funds from being blocked. There was meetings, there was courts, so everybody would be protected and everything and the funds would flow. 69 different municipalities, you can see it on our site. Star Konstantinov, Khmelnytsk. Everybody knows what is going on in that city. Do you know that that municipality has had their accounts blocked? It's basically up for destruction. Local municipalities like that, similar municipalities that provide the whole country with resources, electricity, and that issue is raised every time there's no action. This should be a local decision, central government, local government, and businesses. For whom? For residents. Exactly as it was in 2021. Because if we have this legally, that not even in war region, not even war times, just it had to be realized. They suffer. They do not have their businesses working due to this legal situation. Thank you. I wanted to talk about our decentralization reform. We talked about it in 2014. We had that start. It gave a start to local municipalities that probably this reform has saved us because we were physically available to support their own resident. What is going on with that reform right now? Everybody says that we're having a step back. Can you feel that? How important do you think it is to continue that reform? First thesis, we did not have decentralization reform. We had the first stage. It was very successful. So media-wide, international media, residents had this idea of they lost their feet from joy. We had a small reform of inter-budget relations when we gave up the Soviet distribution form. When we started, so we gave that up. We had profits. We had the administrative territorial reform. Thank you for continuing that. Lots and lots on that. But the key point when we stopped, and the major step back, because the rest is just results, is that we went back to the Soviet formula. Yeah, the financial formula. Those who work, they have their funds deducted. A cow that the cow that you want to give more milk, you should feed it less and milk it more. Yeah, that does not work. This was even before war. In 2022, when local and federal government and country governments has worked together, and the president's office has made a decision to freeze this reform during wartime, we had the reform that local governments use funds to wherever they want, but there is an amount of businesses they have to fund. And in 2023, we threw all of that out of the window and we went back. This is subjective factors that cannot be allowed to continue. In wartime, we can do this. Come back to the stimulating formula. Come back to algorithmic, specific ways for the local governments to spend their money. Because currently we think as residents that everybody can do whatever. No. Unfortunately, the donations to the armed forces was illegal up to 2025. And we do have court cases, enough of them. So even local organizations did not even consider working in that because they would they would be fined. And when we see when we see the information on our local prosecutor's office, which is in English, by the way, so our partners can understand it better, it's not about local governments. It's about fines and criminal cases. Buying energy. There are court cases open on that. So whoever does this is just being placed under arrest. They're not thinking about maintenance. They're not thinking about how to keep our local government working. They're thinking about how not to be arrested in these events, in these times. A local mayor, for example, has decided that our local schools have to be supplied with heat. Every single of his 10 directors of schools had a criminal case opened against them that they dared to provide their schools with heat over limits. You probably remember how the fuel situation was in 2022. Local municipalities, governments have a criminal case open against them because they were buying fuel for extreme prices, even though it was the only price they could buy it at. Nope, they still have a criminal case open against them. So with that in mind, that is the sign that we are absolutely going back. The financial pressure and the legal pressure. Whatever law is is accepted, those are implemented by people. And if we remain people, I'll give you an example. There was a Kyiv director of finances that had a criminal case open for local loan. How is this a critical situation? How is this an insane situation? When we talk about partners giving us big loans, that we have to be working on that as in European Union, but every single country shows us, this was in 2020, this was in 2020. The director has finalized, realized a decision by the local district board, and that's what he was fined for. So if other governments see this, our donors see this, they will not give us money. Local governments will not apply for this. This is what demotivates, and even though this is absolutely legally, nobody has contacted this director for 5 years, but afterwards he was fined for doing something illegal. So technically, formally, we're doing reform. On practice, the realization is absolutely awful. We are breaking the decentralization ideas. 311 municipalities right now do not have a mayor that's been legally selected. 417 have temporarily, partially, they're partially occupied because they have military administrations. These 311, those mayors have been inducted for some reason, and there is no formal person in charge. In those municipalities that have local functioning governments, we can communicate through Prozoro. They receive more funds. Those municipalities are being rebuilt. In those municipalities where there is no mayor, no communication, they receive less funds. And less rebuild, this is all interconnected. This is a very interesting point for our partners. In 3 reports in European Union show that we should formalize the criteria of creating military administrations. Occupied territories, frontal territories. In Kyiv right now we have 3 different legal governments. It's very hard to find consensus among them. And the key point, who's losing in all of this? We. Because we cannot find the person responsible among those 3 different local governments. For example, a local municipality that did not have any attack at all, they also have a military administration because it's a political conflict. They have a civic administration, they have a military administration. This does not only negatively affect civic work, this affects countrywide work because there is a way of power. There's a trickle down of power. There has to be communication. And we have several different, for example, several different municipalities responsible for shelters. Too many generals and army won't fight. This is very negatively affecting communication. Let's try to finalize. Let's try to summarize. 3, 4 different problems, issues that are crucial to solve right now to help municipalities survive the challenges we have right now. They're overflowing. We must know that you said that first, raise the limits for gas. Is there anything else that we can do right now that can help? Thank you for the accent for limits, because some of those municipalities are running out by 10th or 15th of February. It's almost impossible to restart the system. So that's first and foremost for every single municipality. For the government, why for the government? Because we have to prevent this. We have to prevent this catastrophe. We know in Alchevsk, in Sukhodonsk, in Kyiv, when those systems defrost, when municipalities have a lack of gas due to a legal decision by the government, this is going to drag the whole economics behind it, because they will get the funds from salaries of municipal workers. That's a critical. Second issue is the internally displaced people. A person is still the citizen of Ukraine. You can ask them what they feel, the challenges they're dealing with. You can ask them. People who were not in occupied territories, they probably have no idea how the governments ask. A person who's left their home from Kherson, Kharkiv, Chernihiv region into western or central regions, they should not be begging. They should be provided with a job and with residency. And if we change the formula from 2022, the way the government did, flash froze those reverse dotations. If we do not do that, we're going to have a collapse. People will not be paying taxes. People will not be receiving salaries. This is what is the result is going to happen if we do not change the formula that we have right now. That is a decentralization thing. Third, legal statuses of employees. I gave an example in a deoccupied municipality. A local government official, we usually do not notice about on this. He's a person. He came back into the municipality. His house has been destroyed. He has to work. He's not provided he's not provided technically, he's not provided materially. For example, Bashtanka mayor is being tried for slightly exceeding prices for military funds. It wasn't even from the government. It wasn't even from the government level. It was from their own funds, because they were not seeking for a smaller economic profit. They were seeking to buy funds for militaries. And people who notice this, they can see this, they understand that we should not be working like that. Material and technical provision for workers, at least for civic workers, medics, teachers. When the government says, yeah, we're going to raise your salary, yes, that is good, that is necessary. But they are forgetting that the government said and did not give money. So the civics have to provide from some other source. There's a problem. It's a whole snowball. Even though the decision was made well, it was just poorly realized. 3 of those issues are incredibly crucial. Limits freezing the reverse dotations, and the provisions for salaries that have to be provided by funds from the Ministry of Social Politics and Ministry of Education, because they do have the funds. The issue we had with the pension fund workers, that was not a fund issue. That was a regulation issue. 3 of those points, if the cabinet of minister has those legal issues solved, it goes to the civic municipalities, how they will realize. Thank you for this issue. This was Oleksandr Slobozhan, Deputy Executive of the Ukrainian Association of Cities of Ukraine. I hope you had a brief glimpse into the challenges that Ukrainian local governments deal with. Thank you for joining. Thank you for our army forces that allow us to be here. Glory to Ukraine.